Arcadian Vanguard presents the Wrestling News in your daily wrestling newscast for Wednesday, October 11th, 2023. Good morning, I'm Mike Sempervive. We begin with a look at last night's head-to-head between AEW Dynamite and NXT. Dynamite aired live on TBS from the Cable Dahmer Arena in Independence, Missouri in a special Tuesday night time slot due to Major League Baseball playoffs tonight on TBS. The main event, which extended into a 10-minute overrun, saw Adam Copeland win his AEW debut match by pinning Luchasaurus. Copeland was attacked by Nick Wayne, Luchasaurus, and Christian Cage after the match, leading to a brawl to close the show that also involved the Blackpool Combat Club, Swerve Strickland, and Hangman Adam Page.
This has come completely unglued.
What an incredible night this has been on Title Tuesday.
It's been a great night, amazing night. And look at this, a preview of what we'll see this Saturday night on Collision.
Absolutely. Congratulations to Copeland for that win.
Oh, wait a second now, Hangman Adam Page.
Yeah, Page is not enough framed yet. Yeah, he came hobbling out here with that knee.
And Swerve Strickland picking up right where they left off. As now this is bedlam.
We're going nuts in Kansas City.
Spear by Copeland. Christian Cage, he's tapping out to the lapel lock.
The show saw two title changes, with Hikaru Shida becoming the first three-time AEW World Women's Champion by defeating Saraya, and Orange Cassidy regaining the International Championship from Rey Fenix. Cassidy was a replacement for Jon Moxley, who was not medically cleared to wrestle. Powerhouse Hobbs scored a convincing victory over Chris Jericho, pinning him cleanly and then attacking him after the match as well. In a post-match angle and storyline, it was announced that Jericho was being checked out at a nearby hospital. AEW World Champion MJF confronted Bullet Club Gold, including Jay White, who was still in physical possession of MJF's title belt. White refused to surrender the belt, challenging MJF to take it from him at Full Gear. Juice Robinson then taunted MJF with a roll of quarters with his name on it.
I don't know if you can see it, but it's got your name on it, buddy, old boy. Right there, Friedman. $10 worth. You know what I do with these, Sonny Jack? I break its jaws. So after we ruin your life, I'm gonna put a roll of quarters in my hand.
Hey, you come near me with those quarters, I'll end your life, you piece of Oh, yeah, well, Jay White, I'm sorry, Juice went a little, went a little too low there.
MJF, he's talked at length about the bullies that would torment him in his youth by throwing quarters at him. And
the segment took place right after a victory for White against Hangman Adam Page. Also on the show, Bryan Danielson pinned Swerve Strickland in the opening match to become the #1 contender to the TNT Championship. Meanwhile, NXT aired on USA Network from the WWE Performance Center in Orlando, Florida. The show featured the first NXT appearances of both John Cena and The Undertaker. Cena appeared in the corner of Carmelo Hayes for the main event and delivered a promo earlier in the show, and Undertaker appeared during the final segment in the 10-minute overrun to confront Braun Breaker and chokeslam him to end the show.
Now, Braun, I've been watching you for a long time. And one day you're going to be a very special talent.
Yeah.
It's just one thing. It ain't today.
Paul Heyman was also there in the corner of Breaker, who went down in defeat to Hayes in the main event. The match saw attempted outside interference from Judgment Day that was thwarted by John Cena, who then brawled to the back with Solo Sikoa. Other visitors from the main roster included LA Knight, who served as the special referee for the NXT Championship match, in which Ilya Dragunov defeated North American champion Dominic Mysterio. Asuka made her return to NXT with a win over Roxanne Perez, and Cody Rhodes appeared in the opening segment as the guest general manager to announce the imminent return of the NXT Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. In other results, Butch, Tyler Bate, and Ridge Holland beat Gallus in a Pub Rules match, and Lola Vice defeated Danny Palmer in a women's breakout tournament quarterfinal match. The show also featured another teaser vignette for Brian Pillman Jr., who hinted at using a new ring name when he debuts for NXT.
But this industry has been in my blood since birth, and I could never escape it. I've got no choice but to embrace it. I have no choice but to inflict pain on the very business that has brought me so much grief. But when they see this face, I don't want them to think about my dead father. I want them to think about me. I'm nobody's junior. And from this day forward, I'm going to take on the last name of the real man who raised me, the real father figure in my life. And his name was King. And now so is mine.
And in ratings news, last Monday night's edition of Raw drew a total audience of 1.557 million viewers to USA Network, according to WrestleNomics, which was a slight increase over last week's audience of 1.511 million. However, in the key 18 to 49-year-old demographic, the ratings went down, slipping from 0.48 last week to 0.43 this week. Meanwhile, last Saturday's episode of AEW Collision, which went head-to-head with WWE's premium live event Fastlane on Peacock, drew a total audience of 353,000 to TNT, according to Sports TV ratings. That number is up slightly from the previous week's audience of 327,000. The rating in the key demo was 0.09, also up slightly from the previous week's 0.08. And before we leave you today, we'd like to remind you that however you consume your content, you can find the wrestling news 24 hours a day and 7 days a week across social media. On Twitter, follow us at Wrestling News AV. Our Facebook page is also Wrestling News AV. The Wrestling News can also be found on the Arcadian Vanguard YouTube page. And for those who utilize Amazon Echo devices, just tell Alexa to play the Wrestling News podcast. And remember to make sure you add podcast at the end. Once again, for daily updates, breaking news, and more, follow the Wrestling News across social media. And that's the news for today. If anything happens, we will be here to tell you about it. No clickbait, no paywall, just the Wrestling News. The Wrestling News is a division of Arcadian Vanguard, and the Wrestling Newscast is a production of the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network.